Hi, my name is Dr. Cheryl Meier. Today, here, I'll show you the view. Today is going to be teaching, like deep teaching. But I'm at a beautiful place again. Giant butterfly just flew by. Too bad I didn't have, and I'd never been over here before. I found a bench. So, but I think I'll sit on this rock for now. All right. So I think I'll have the canyon behind me. There. I have a notebook because I need to write something today for you guys. But I just thought I'd do it while I was on with you. So, just a big transformation today. It was a lot. I woke up very early, and I mean, you guys don't have to know everything, but just, you know what? One of my friends told me, when your heart cracks wide open, that you need to take advantage of that time because everything's very poignant and you see everything really clearly. So I'm going through a transition right now, and gosh, I thought like all the other work that I was doing was the hard stuff. It's fine. Like it's important not to complain. Like it's I'm getting a blank page for us. What I want to teach you guys is how to transmute heartbreak into healing. That's pretty much it. I didn't even think again about what I got a vision this morning, and I haven't thought about it since then because I was just hoping it would come back while I was doing this teaching with you guys. So I'm sure it will. So when you have a heartbreak, or when you have, it was like a nightmare. When you have something that is on your mind that here, I don't want to be squinting. Let's see. I love squatting. Okay, when you have something on your mind that is like a nightmare and you want to keep running from it, this is the time where you turn around and you just face it head on, because otherwise it keeps taunting you and it keeps putting its face like in your memory, and you get to choose what thoughts you want to feed. I've heard from a lot of mystics and from the Native American shaman that I met with. He said thoughts are real. Okay, so that doesn't mean they dominate over you, but if you feed them, then they can grow bigger and bigger. I have a lot of stories that are coming to mind that can teach you this lesson, but one is like about a genie, but I can't remember the whole story, but it's basically this guy gets a genie in a lamp, and it's like as long as the genie was busy doing stuff, it would leave him alone. But it had all this power, and it was creating all this destruction in this man's life when finally he just, I can't remember the story. I know the story goes that he had this this curly string thing, and he just told him, straighten this, and it was one that would just keep curling up, and the genie would have to straighten it, keep curling it up. I don't remember why that story is coming up, but it's basically like you get to be the master of your life if you choose to be. If you choose to be the king, the queen, the magician, the thoughtful person, to use the gifts of love and of emotion and of thought in a constructive way instead of letting them destroy you. and letting other people direct your life and letting just your automatic habits direct your life. What we talk about when we talk about getting more conscious is learning how to raise your level of awareness so that you know how to be centered in your own being, and you choose your own destiny and your own how your life unfolds. Each moment you take a different trajectory on your life. So your life, and the good news is like your life, I love it when I get into this mode, when I can think about it, is like your life can start over right now in this moment. You get to choose which thoughts you feed, which stories you tell yourself. Because like if someone just came out of the bushes and pushed me down, like I don't want to come up with violent ideas or something, but let's just say, for example, they're not going to do that. Loving place with sweet bunnies and stuff. But if they did, I could tell a story in my head like, oh, everyone picks on me. They come out of nowhere to get me and push me down and blah, 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 blah. Or I could be like, oh, dude, that guy's having, I think is a guy. What if it's a cat fight? Cat fight. No, I'm kidding. That girl, whoever, that person's not having a good day. And what the heck? Like, they're taking out their stuff on whoever's near them, and I happen to be near. Or I look at, what's going on in me that I feel like I would draw that kind of negative attention to me today, Like whenever I think I've been pulled over like 3 times, maybe more. Don't quote me on that. Oh, there's crows right above me. There's the crows. It's because and so it's like every time I got pulled over, I was in a certain mood when it was happening. I was in a stressed out place. I don't remember ever being pulled over when I'm just chill, One time I got pulled over because I was in a rental car and I knew that there were cops, it was in this part of Arkansas, that would just hang around by the highway there and get out-of-towners. And I was like, but see, I had it in my mind that they were out to get out-of-towners and I was in this rental car. But I pushed the cruise control back and it went back to the old speed that I was at the highway. I didn't know it was resuming back to that, and I was trying to get it to go anyway. I got pulled over, of course, But all that's to say is there's a lot more to reality than most of us know, and I've studied it a lot, and so that's why I want to give you these tools, how to heal. It goes really deep. I was watching, there was this video that came up in my feed that was talking about, how, I don't want to, let me think what I want to say. I try not to make my videos dated, so, but this person was the girlfriend of someone that does other videos that I've talked about. I don't know if I want to go more than that. But anyway, this woman was, and I didn't know that. I'd never heard of her before. But someone had just mentioned her, and so I looked her up. And she was doing this video on how to manifest the guy of your dreams, That's just the video that came up, And so it's funny. It's not funny, like that's fine. Let her do all that she can do. She seemed pretty knowledgeable about a lot of stuff, but I was like, well, I want to know what's beyond that. I want to know how to get to a place where you're healed and you, like Eckhart Tolle talks about, you enjoy being in the presence of another person and you enjoy their presence. There's like a resonance and you love being around them, but you don't have to do anything. You really don't even have the desire to do something to manifest that specific person. I don't know how to explain that part, but wouldn't that be nice though, to get to a place where you just feel so loved inside and so yourself and so, I forgot I was going to ground myself before this video. I was like, hold on, let's do that together. We'll do that together. Actually, so if you imagine, beautiful breeze, just have you look out in nature for a second. If you imagine, I know, I watched the video this morning. I was just sobbing. It was so beautiful. Not that girl, I don't remember. I think I watched that last night. A guy named Mooji, Mooji, did a video just a couple days ago. And it was so beautiful. He quoted Bob Marley. I was like, there's my sign that I'm watching the right video. And what he said was, take a deep breath and imagine when you're blowing out, you're just blowing out all of your thoughts, all of your interfering thoughts right now, anything that wants to be chattering in your mind, like the genie that we've grown, and like the stories that want to be attached to any neutral thing that happens to us. We want to attach this old story, our old stories from childhood of this always happens to me. I don't want to give you more examples, but let's just take a breath again. And blow out all your thoughts. And go here to your heart space. It's like if you imagine for a second, go to that part of you that doesn't have a name. If you imagine there's like a candle in your heart, that small candle that's burning, and you just go in and you're looking at that candle. Now, if you just imagine, I've heard it like this, like the light of divine love is this big light and it's joining with your light in your heart. Your personality light is joining with that light. And sometimes I imagine my whole body, all my cells, my DNA, just turning into this golden light body. All right, so now let's come back. If you have distracting thoughts that pull you over here, pull you over there, just try to come back to the center. I don't know if all of you guys have done this before, if any of you have, or if you have lots of practice at that, but it will help you with what I'm about to say. So here it is. When you have heartbreak, someone, thinks they're going to love you and says, I'm going to love you, or like, let's say you get married and you think that person's going to love you or you're going to love them. And so you trust them and you come closer and closer to them. And then they crush you. No, sorry, I don't want to laugh about it. But this is what happens in childhood. And so it brings up an old wound from childhood, is you look at your parents and they feed you and you think they're going to love you, and then something happens where you disappoint them, or they lose their temper about something else, and you're just this sweet child, and they start yelling at you. I heard someone doing that the other day to their kid. I'm like, what? I wanted to go over and like scoop up the child. I just started praying. I was like, to my guardian angel, because I believe we all have guardian angels, I'm like, tell their guardian angel they're okay. It's not their fault. Their parents taking it out on them. Like, I can't go take care of everything as a psychologist, but I just heard it, and maybe I heard it for a reason, But what happens sometimes is we just get crushed in love, and we think that we're going to be cherished and held and cared for, and then it doesn't turn out that way. And so it's like pain is a motivator for all of us, but definitely for me. Pain is what a lot of people come in to see me as a psychologist for. Pain is what motivates me to get to real solutions quick. I was trying to, like, in my mind, like, come on, what's the solution to this? And I couldn't get it through my mind, and no matter how hard I was trying. And so I had to do the exercise again, where I did that one meditation, and I went straight into it and went to the emotions of why this wasn't working, why I was looking externally again for my understanding of my worth. We learn this in childhood, okay? So don't get mad at yourself that you learned this in childhood. It's like a lot of people say we come here down to earth and we're in an amnesia and we forget this unconditional love that we knew so well before. And it's like our journey to go back to find that love again, to understand it, to know that we are the love. Like, that's the, like, spoiler alert, that's at the end. But it's like how to really genuinely get there, because you can't just shove it in. Because I know this, and I found it on so many layers, but it was like another layer got like opened up in me, and it's like, like just, so I'm gonna go to the bench. There's all these flies. All right. Sometimes it takes me a while, I think, to get to this place with you guys because it's hard to talk about. So I just don't know sometimes if I ought to edit all this out or just say, just skip to 18 minutes in. That's how it is right now, but I might edit some of this out. So watch it end up being starting at 11:11 again. It's so weird when that happens. Okay, so you go in, and for me, I felt the pain. I went in and felt the pain again of what it feels like. I just, like, the very thing that you want to avoid, that's where I knew I had to go in there. And it's, every time I'm like, are you sure I have to do this? And I'm still not saying I'm sure. So I'm just saying this as a person, not as a psychologist, as you're a psychologist or anyone's psychologist. That's just my other job. So you go in, you feel this deep, deep, deep rejection from this experience of someone you thought that was going to come in and, you know there's a love there. It's just like with your parents. It's so familiar. It's like, that's family, familiar. You feel this deep love for another person, and you feel it from them, and you feel like wow, this could be really beautiful. And then a betrayal of some kind happens and they break your heart, and you can go a lot of different directions here. You could go to, I'm never going to let anyone else again, and I'm going to get really cold and hate everybody, and my life will be about taking revenge on the rest of the world for my broken heart. And I don't recommend that one. Like, look at me. Like, I'm genuinely smiling because I don't want to do that. I always want to love. That's, again, so the pain motivates me to get to an answer, and also love motivates me to get to an answer, because like, I always want to know how to love again, and no one's going to take that from me. I'm not going to let anybody take that from me. I'm not going to dare people to do that, because then, it's not like that. It's my heart, I get to choose how to protect it, how to, it's important that you develop high quality of character within yourself, a true, genuine person. And the more you know your real worth, the more, there's the sun. The more you know who to let in and who not to let in, and when to let them in. And if you don't know that, you'll learn from a heartbreak, like what I learned, And so you get to figure out why you made the choices that you did make. And so when you have this heartbreak, it's like if you look at this, you're not going to have power if you keep looking at it like it's the other person. So how you get your own power back is to look at what's going on in me that I felt like I deserved to be betrayed. And it's not to blame yourself. It's not to blame the other person or let anyone off the hook for being disrespectful or lying or making promises that they couldn't, or weren't planning on showing up for, or whatever it is, whatever. It's really, I was going to say inconsequential. It's so pretty. Hold on. Look at that canyon down there. I was going to go down that canyon today, but then I'm just following inspiration. So it's not inconsequential that this person, oh look, there's a bouquet. Look at this. Ha ha ha. This is how the world rewards you when you keep taking the high path and choosing love no matter what, I'm just saying. This is just in the bushes. It was just laying right here. It's like I laid it the other day, but I didn't. I'd never been up here. Oh, it's super sweet. It's just laying like that. So it's definitely not part of that plant. Maybe someone came up here with the... That's sweet. See? Divine love gives me bouquets and butterflies and bunnies and all sorts of stuff. When your heart is going to be full of love again, and because I did the hard work, like, believe me, this doesn't happen out of nowhere. It doesn't happen. It happens not because I earned it, but because I went deep into this horrible, dark place and cried my eyes out for about 3 hours this morning because I wanted to heal this. And I want to love again. I don't want to have a callous heart. So that's what I was going to say, that the directions we could go in, and then I'll go back to owning it back yourself, is when your heart breaks, you can become all cold and numb, or you can go act out and you can go get numb all the time by addictions or by running to other things that will give you quick ego boosts, ego highs. You can develop a false personality and not learn who your authentic self is, and not even know you're in a false personality. You're just becoming who everybody else told you, hey, this is cool, so be this, act like act like you're this, hot shot, whatever. A hot shot's like 60s or I don't know when that was. I don't usually say that word. Maybe I needed to say it for someone, but like some I don't know, player or some. You could totally shut down everything and be ultra, not, I don't want to say religious like in a good sense, like, have a heart that's connected to the divine so that divine love flows through you. That's wonderful, And I'm not saying any of these other things are terrible. We can just say whatever. Everyone has their own path to choose after their own heartbreak. But, people can get really rigid religious and just go by the book and shut everything down, and then they're not living because the Holy Spirit, or whatever you want to call it, like love's not flowing through them. They're not, they shut down their emotions a different way, and just stamped God on top of it and said it's God's doing. But so how to turn this around is what when Christ says, take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. We can take that as a principle for how to manifest, it's almost like every problem ever can be solved by that one principle. So I turn it around, as hard as it was, I turned this around and looked at, I wanted someone to come in my life right now and break my heart and betray me. So why would I want that? And I had to honestly look at that. And again, I'm not telling you it's my fault. And I'm not telling you I created this, because if someone else chooses to act in a way that's not of highest love, then that is their choice. It's really weird, because I saw this morning. Part of my vision was I saw the woman who was they tricked her. Well, I don't know what they did, but I've read it in different mystic books. But she was caught in adultery for whatever reason. And I'm not saying that's what was happening with me, but the second part is when she was on the ground and they wanted to stone her. They had all these stones to stone her. And so that's when, because part of my spiritual practice is to enter into these stories and imagine yourself as one of the characters, either as the woman, or as the people about to stone, or as one of the disciples watching, or as myself watching as a disciple, or as just a person. Or I usually don't see myself as Christ, but sometimes you can enter in to look at how he's viewing the story. And it's amazing how your third eye or your intuition or whatever will open up, or your crown chakra, whatever, and you'll get to see all these different amazing things. And so I've studied the story a lot. That's probably why it could come so quickly in my vision, because I do this every day as one of my practices. So I saw myself, though, in this vision on the ground, and Christ coming over and saying, "Where are those that were going to stone you?" And she's like, "Nowhere, Lord," and he's like, "Neither will I stone you. No, come on, go and sin no more. Go and don't go back to selling yourself out to something less than the highest love. You are worth the highest love." The word sin, and I've talked about it some in my other videos, is hamartia, which is like if someone's doing bow and arrow, and there's like a target out there and they're just shooting. They, I guess, I heard it in Aramaic, someone saying it like that. But it's just like someone yelling out hamartia, like you missed the mark. You go over to the left a little, go over to the right. I remember it was a guy named Dale Allen Hoffman was talking about that in one of his tapes in Aramaic. He was talking the Aramaic word, Bishon, I think, if I remember the word right. But he was talking, but the word is to miss the mark. And so it's like she's missing the mark of perfect love. But for me, I think she came to mind because it felt like someone just like took knives and stabbed them in my back. Like that's the description of like or in my heart, the emotional pain that I was feeling. It was very excruciating. Because, let me show you. I'll show you on the, here. Let's see. You see this? It's just glaring, so I can't. It taps into our childhood. So I draw this all the time for my clients. I can't see what's on because it's glaring. Okay, so it's like if this person did this, here's their arrow, right into my heart. But I had all this stuff from my childhood, all this old baggage of all these other people and these other experiences doing it in all these other ways. Then it's like they only did one piece of this. But what it does is it triggers all of this old stuff, whatever is not healed. I think you saw that, yeah. Whatever is not healed. If you didn't see that, I can just add a picture of it later. And also, I used to do the radio a lot, national radio. And so I would just say, it's like, if there's a pie, let's say it's apple pie. And, well, I mean, you don't want something really good because this isn't a good thing. But it's like they only did 1/8 of the pie and you're throwing the whole pie at the person. So the pain I experienced was pain from when I was 2 years old and 3 years old and 4 years old and felt completely, utterly crushed or rejected or unknown, or like felt the feeling of being locked in a closet. I'm not saying my parents did that, but emotionally we can feel like that when our parents, like what I heard, what was going on the other day with that little kid, the parent was just taking out all their own frustration on this child. The child didn't know that, was just feeling it all, absorbing it all, like, but daddy, blah, blah, blah. It was so sweet. I felt like, so sweet for the child. I wanted to like pick her up, obviously. But, and he regulated it pretty quickly. The guy did, which I'm glad, the dad. And thank God, like, who knows? Like, prayer changes things, So anyway, I felt comforted just that I could pray for the little girl. But this is us, okay? This is us. And so when I felt this heartbreak, we go back and we look at how we take the log out of our own eye, how we take control back of this situation is why would I want someone to betray me so badly right now? Why would I want that same experience as what I had in childhood? Why did I ask for that? Or not ask for that, but be drawn to a scenario where that would happen all over again. Again, it's a fine line. It's not about blaming yourself. It's not about blaming the other person. But this is about, all we're talking about is transmuting this. So let's just get to how to transmute it. So I got to, well, look at what I was saying at the beginning of this video. I wanted to know how to get to a place of not having my love and my sense of worth dependent on anything outside of me. I wanted to know it inside. I don't want to spend time trying to like magnetize some guy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care about that right now. Like, I care about aligning myself with the love of God, divine love, and knowing that love in its fullness within myself. And being that, once I can embody that, because I believe that's what we are, then I'm in alignment with love, and full love can come through me, out of me, to you guys, to everybody I interact with, to myself, to everybody I interact with in the world. So what's better than that, When Christ asked someone, what do you think is the highest commandment? And he says, love God with all your heart, soul, and mind, love your neighbor as yourself. You know, if God is this mother, father, creator, mystery, this absolute infinite beingness, this mystery of all that is, love, divine source, where we came out of and are part of, and love everybody as another soul being carrying that spark of God in them. Like, that's just a very simple way to put it, but so let's go back to this betrayal, like, so that we can get this cleared out. We can get this cleared out once and for all. We'll solve all of life's problems in this one video. All right, so why would I want someone to pretend like they're going to love me and then betray me again and repeat that same feeling in childhood because you thought your parents were going to love you, and then they take out all their baggage, see this baggage, all their baggage from childhood. You do this one thing as a child, and then they have all of this baggage that they throw on you, and you don't know that it's all their old unconscious pain from their subconscious and from God knows what, the collective consciousness or wherever. And so you just absorb it, especially as a sensitive and empathic child, you absorb it like it's your fault. And so you feel crushed. You feel like you're the worst person in the whole world. And so that kind of answers some of the thing of why I would feel like I deserve to be betrayed is when you have like a narcissistic father or any father, whatever, none of our parents are perfect, or moms, you learn to take on all of their baggage, and you start identifying with that idea that you must be this horrible person, or you're worthless, or people are going to betray you because why not? You're not worth protecting. Aw, see? I heard a video the other day. No, this was a live Zoom class the other day. And the guy was like, the divine masculine. It was a guy teaching too, you know? It's like the divine masculine, or, you know, I don't know if you call it divine masculine, sacred masculine, like the high form of how to be a good man is to, they're protective of women, and that's like in them, they want to, you know, and they're linear and logical, and they see what they want, they go after that, they don't let anything get in their way, and women are more, and I've talked about this in other videos too, so I'm not just taking that guy's stuff, it's in what I've talked about in other videos. The woman, remember I said that one person was telling me men are like straight lines and women are like three wavy lines, you know? We're like intuitive and creative and emotional, and we have emotions, and men have emotions. It's just knowing how to connect with your emotions and connect with your feminine side and connect with your intuition and let those emotions be real and be felt and not muzzle yourself. And when we push down our thoughts and our emotions, sometimes they leak out in other ways, you know. That's a different video I was watching that was talking about how those, when we muzzle them all, they turn into obsessions or something and addictions. But when we're not rigid and we learn how to face our fears and our pains and this depth of stuff that I had to go into, well, I chose to go into this morning, then everything's more fluid and it just flows, and you get to be more your authentic self, and it's not bottled up, and but it's not like you're run by your thoughts either, because we were talking about being in the center of your being and letting go of your thoughts for a moment to learn how to practice being your essence, who you really are, your real self. But back to this, so if I felt crushed as a child and oh my gosh, now I just got a flashback of what happened this morning. This is probably why I just didn't want to see it again. Is it's like I saw this betrayal, and then I saw another long betrayal that went on for a number of years, that I didn't realize was a betrayal. And then I saw another, I saw like a college boyfriend betrayal relationship thing that went really bad. And then I went back to my childhood and I saw click, 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 click. All of the times that I felt the same way, they all came like in a line, like a timeline. And so it's like, why would I want someone to turn their back on me and choose a different direction, whether it's a different person or a different direction, or even with Elliot, like I can talk about Elliot now that he's gone. Hold on. Someone might be coming up here. It's like I couldn't. Hi. Were you guys going to sit up here or just taking a break? Okay. Oh, too cute kid. I think their parents are kind of like, he didn't do drugs around me, but apparently he was doing drugs, and so I couldn't be in a relationship with him. I wouldn't when he was single while he was doing that, because I didn't want to compete with drugs and hard alcohol and stuff. As much as I loved him, I wasn't going to do that. I didn't know what to do about that. Like I was really young. I didn't know what to do about that. I knew I wasn't going to compete with that. I still was like 1 year away from getting my doctorate back then. It was a long time ago. Anyway, so why would I want someone to betray me? And it just, the higher spiritual meaning would be to open up this old wound that I'd buried away, because it was always too painful for me to deal with, too painful for me to, why would I be motivated? Like, oh, it's such a beautiful sunny day. Like, I'm going to go in and dig up this deep pain. Like, I'm not motivated to do it. And so actually when someone repeats that, because it's an unfinished story in my life, so this is how it happens, is some part of me, because I haven't healed this and I hadn't healed it to the level that it could be healed and resolved it, then I kept feeling like I deserved that kind of treatment. That's the problem. As long as you don't resolve it, sometimes what will happen is you keep thinking you deserve that because it's not resolved. And so I must have picked someone, again, that wasn't safe in a certain way. Like some scenario, this could happen in any scenario. Like this could happen with a next door neighbor or with one of my kids' teachers or something, you know what I mean? Like have a fight, but it's not gonna like stab me in the heart usually with those kind of connections. But one of my girlfriends, this happened with a friend, that was a girl. Oof. That was the college one. I was just a mess. But I won't go into that because I don't know. I know they're my own stories, but some people know the people involved. So I want to be protective. Anyway, so back to that idea of protective too, is when you grow up and your own father, who shows you how to be the masculine in you, is not protective and doesn't protect you in all the ways that you deserve to be protected or you ought to be protected, then you can be attracted to other men because you don't have that developed in you. that are also not protective. They didn't learn from their own father how to be protective. So we can neutralize it that way and not make excuses for myself for not protecting me, because why I am worth protecting. So I choose to protect myself and learn what it means to protect myself and activate those male energies in me in a healthy way and the female energies in me in a healthy way. So I know how to be the divine male and the divine female, all of the things that some woman also described it like, well, her name is Erica Elnitz. She was saying, like, when she goes to work or something, or she was developing her own business, she kind of got this man, a no-nonsense attitude, not the distorted masculine, where it's like, I got to beat out everybody else, but more like this logical, here's where I want to go, here's how I want to get there. You activate those things. Like, if you imagine that we had like the best example of how to be a man and the best example of how to be a woman, this divine, like, goddess woman, empress woman that embodies all of these nurturing and affectionate and intuitive and like celebrating her creativity woman, and stands up for herself and honors herself and treats herself with respect and dignity. That kind of woman, if she's our example and we have this great man as an example, then we'd be flying high, But I didn't have that. So I'm going to keep researching this and learning how to give that to myself, because I want to be these things to myself. I want to be these things to my kids, to other people, to this world. Like, I want to be conscious, and also to this child part of myself. So this child part of myself was still in there, not knowing that she deserved to have a masculine that protected her and did what he said he was going to do. And so when I learn how to do that, then I will magnetize that to me. like that other woman's video. I only watched like 2 minutes of her video, but I got like a feel of how she operates or whatever and what she was talking about. But you magnetize to yourself the same vibe, not just the vibe. Tune in your frequency. If you are this high frequency, then that too will come around you. If you are always complaining and always just trying to take shortcuts and trying to cheat in life and get the quick fix, you're going to be surrounded by people who will try to get the quick fix in you, If you are like what I experienced with Elliot, like we had this depth of connection that was just amazing and beautiful, and it felt like no other feeling like I had ever felt at that time. I hadn't felt it. It was so beautiful. But he also had all his addictions, and I had all my old wounds from my childhood, and his childhood was similar in a lot of ways. And so it was a mixed bag. It was all this, painful stuff, so we could act out destructively on each other, but we also had this depth and this conscience and this presence that was out of this world beautiful. And like, this magnetism with him, we never wanted to leave, but it was also intense. It was like, go away, or you're going to hurt me real bad, And so it kind of happened some with us, but most of it, we tried to keep it really loving. But anyway, that's, I talk about Elliot Smith was his name. He's a musician, passed away now, but he definitely triggered this huge awakening in my life, and I thank him for that, because it changed everything, and I know I did for him as well. Okay, so back to this betrayal. When you look at why would I want that? Well, okay, so what happened was I had to go back to, oh, wait a second. Why was I waiting for my parents again in the form of another person to show up and parent me and love me? This time love me instead of leave me, because in my childhood I felt like I got crushed and left, and so I didn't realize this was going on. I didn't realize. So it's like, what am I afraid of to go and get her myself? And this is what happened. This one, it showed me the vision of all these people, it kind of felt like they had stoned me. But then finally they left. And it's like Christ joined me to go pick her up. She's laying on the ground and go, well, it was more like, it ended up being like that, but it was more like, what am I afraid of? If I go over to that girl that's laying on the ground that everyone else rejected. That's what I was going to draw a picture of, but maybe I can just give you a word picture now. Is we wait for the other people. I'm going to draw something here. Because we wait for, here, you guys look at nature for a second while I draw this. No, I'll just draw it with you guys. Okay? So I'm just going to draw like a head. So we have this experience. I can't draw when I'm not doing art stuff. Like I can only draw upside down. So it's like, here's this person that did this, rejection, betrayal thing. And then we go back to, well, here's our parents inside that. This is another person. And then here's us inside of that. Okay, 3 layers. Okay, this is kind of how I was seeing it, but it was a lot prettier in my imagination. But if you look at the person inside of the person inside of the person is like, this outer person did this rejecting, and then it brought us back to the parents who initially rejected us and brought us back to this child part of us. And actually, I saw this beautiful picture. I was going to get one of my kids. I saw like this, I can't like, so I'm squatting, but it's like if my child part, the child part of me was right here, and I was holding her like this, like this. My arms around her, and she's just here, like here, like my arms are around her, and I'm loving her. And so what happened was, if you look at, I waited for this person, and he's like, no, she's not worth loving. And then I go back to my parents, nope, she's not worth loving. And it's like, why wasn't I willing to go get her myself? And it's like, because what if you find out that she's not worth loving? What if you find out that what they're communicating by their actions is she's not worth loving, she's worth just betraying and stepping on and going for something else? Like, I'd rather go for... I'd rather watch TV than know you. My dad had like 2 TVs, one that he played video games on and one that he was watching, because he's numbing himself, because he didn't know how to love this guy, this child essence inside of him. That didn't have anything to do with me. It had to do with all his own pain that he didn't want to face. But I thought it had to do with me as a child, and another person's rejection. All my exes that live in Texas, I grew up in Texas, all of their rejections don't have anything to do with me. They have to do with that person not being able to show up in an intimate relationship as presence. And they're not in the same place as me. Let's say alignment, they call it alignment. But back to this is, let's say if I go pick a person to date that really likes cotton candy and decides like, oh yeah, I thought I was going to love you, but I would rather go get this cotton candy machine and keep making cotton candy and live on that sugar high. And that's just, it's a lot easier. I get this rush, and I don't have to deal with the complications of actually dealing with my own BS, my own crap, and healing it and letting it come up so that I don't keep toxically throwing it on you and blaming my stuff on you and all that stuff. I'd rather make cotton candy. So like everyone has the freedom to go do that. Go do that. Like if you think your life is going to be full on cotton candy, like go do that for as long as you want to go do that. And I go do my thing, And so it's like, Oh, funny. Look at what's on the ground. Look. I never come over here and I never see this, but look at all this cotton candy. There we go. You can put it together and make a little cotton. Yum, go. Have fun. Aw. But I'm only laughing because I got to a place out of it's been a really painful last 7 months, but really the last 2 weeks were, but anyway, I don't have to date my my path. I try to be open here so you guys can deal with your stuff. Like, who knows, maybe I'm going through it right now so that it can benefit you guys as well. I want my pain to be useful for other people and me not to stay in it. But so let's get to the quick of this. And just because you know it in your head doesn't take away from the work that's important for you to do. Is when there's some subconscious part of me, let's say, that finds a guy that'll be like, oh, let's date that guy because he likes cotton candy, and for sure he'll stop going to cotton candy and pick me because I'm a real sincere person of depth, blah blah blah. But it's like, whatever, I don't know. You don't think about this stuff consciously. You're just used to someone that likes going off to cotton candy, and there's a butterfly. But there was a different kind earlier. Okay, so why do I want to go find someone who's going to reject me? I mean, you never know if someone's going to reject you, but the more you heal this, the more... My mom used to tell me the same, and it kept putting me back into therapy. I'm like, I got to go find another therapist. Because she's like, the closer you get to Wellsville, the weller your feller will be. You know, it's kind of is like that girl's video, that woman's video talking about. But we grew up in Texas, so Wellsville is like the healthier you get. She's basically saying the higher consciousness and higher vibration you get, the better you will find a person that's more balanced, and you have all this stuff healed in you, and you'll go from finding a 6 out of 10 in love to you're resonating at a 10 out of 10 in love, and like other people of that same vibration will be drawn to you because you've learned how to heal this stuff and take responsibility to clean out these old wounds. Not like I mean, part of me, of course, is begging God to help me clean this stuff out, but not that I wanted it that way. But how else are we going to be motivated but by a fresh heartbreak? So you go in, your heart gets broken, you go in and you're like, wait, why was I waiting again for someone else to define me? This person off doing the cotton candy thing doesn't know anything about my worth. Like, they're on their own journey. Why am I taking my heart out like that one Simpsons episode and giving it to them and like, here, you take care of my heart? No, you are the caretaker with God's help. She, the creator God. Oh, I love the Mother, Father God like that. The Holy Spirit is like the Shekinah, like the Sophia, wisdom, the feminine aspect. The feminine aspect of God has been completely ignored for the last mostly 2,000 years, but in Judaism they used to have like a feminine aspect of God that they did study and revered, and it got pushed down a lot with Christendom. But Christ talked to women and men and showed them as equals. So anyway, I won't go into all of that. But let's if we look at this is activating the divine feminine in me and the divine masculine. But if we go back to this, why did I give my definition of worth? Well, when you're a child, all you can do is try to get your sense of worth from your parents, and so it's an old unconscious behavior to do. But it's like, okay, when I finally got to it and I was like, why am I doing this? Why am I waiting for someone else to define me? I got to, well, I'm scared to go there. What if I go and there's this pit that they all pushed me in, like this whole line of people that have done the same behavior over and over again all through the years. pushed me in this pit. And I look in that pit and I find her and I go, ugh, who is she? Yeah, she wasn't worth loving. And I'm like, well, let's go there. I really was like, let's go there. And this is another deep, deep, deep thing of why we don't want to go there and pull her out. Because what if we go there and find him, and we pull her out and we see that she's this precious, beautiful essence of soul being, some star seed or earth angel or whatever you want to call it, just some beautiful, divine, loving, sweet, like a little puppy that someone just threw in a pit, but this human soul, what if we find it and it's beautiful? If we do that, okay, and we find her or we find him and she's beautiful and she was always worth loving, and, she's pretty messed up because she's been ignored and neglected all these years because we believed all these other lies from these other people that he or she wasn't worth loving. What happens is part of me, I saw it this morning after crying, I didn't want to get her because if she really is beautiful and worth loving, then I can't make excuses for my parents anymore. Like, it feels like a betrayal of my parents then. It's like a, hold on, I'm looking at the view. Here, I can move. You guys gonna hang out? I'm just making a video. I can go over here. It's a beautiful view, right? Okay, so if I go get her, then all this love. Okay, it's like you don't bite the hand that feeds you. I've been at that place a long time. Let's let some other people enjoy it. Here's the spot right here. Perfect. So, it looks like a heart too. Look, a burnt out heart, but nevertheless, I don't know if you can see it. It's completely a heart. So we learn in childhood not to bite the hand that feeds us. If I tell my parents, you guys are horrible, they could put me out on the street. I could die, And so you learn to protect the connection, the bonds that you have. And one of them is by entering into the lies that they have within themselves. You go with them and you don't realize it. Okay. Oh, that's pretty. Pretty behind me too. So what happened is I didn't realize until this morning, until I faced all this pain on another level, because I wanted to clear out the pain so I don't keep repeating this cycle. I don't want to repeat this cycle one more time in my life, not once. I plan not to, and I don't think I will. And that's why I'm like, I've got to make a video, because I want you guys to know this so you don't have to ever repeat this cycle in yourself, is go in, face this, look at why do I put this responsibility of you show me that I'm worth loving, because of course that's what our parents were meant to do and they didn't do that. And then why do we do that in another person? Because we're repeating our childhood unconsciously. We go back to, I always say to my clients, we go back to where the story broke down and we're trying to make it happily ever after. And you don't realize you're enacting that drama with another person, or with other people, or with other situations. You can do it with a job, you can do it with the environment, you can do it with, like, why are we all, trapped in our houses right now, like there's a deep unconscious cleaning that's going on right now that's showing up in our society because of the way we interacted with society, with the earth before. Some people are saying it's with the earth. Anyway, I won't go into all of that because we're specific on this right now. Is so I go in and I look at, I didn't want to find out that she was worth loving, because then my parents were bad. They were the bad guys this whole time. And I know I can say, oh, they did wrong, they messed up, they weren't conscious, blah, blah, blah. But some part of you wants to keep making excuses for them and going, no, they tried their best and they're going to come through and they just didn't know and they will come through for her. Or maybe she is bad. And it's really weird. We blame it on ourselves because when we're this little and our parents are this big, we don't want, we're really invested in not seeing them as the bad guys. Like, let's say if you were 3 feet high and your parents were 18 feet high and they were giants or something, you would definitely do anything you could to keep blaming yourself and keep them as the good guys, because they could crush you really bad if you thought that they're the bad guys. And if you treat them like they're the bad guys, then they're going to get mad at you and crush you, is what our thoughts are. And so, have a great day. Thanks. So what happens is we make ourselves bad so that we can save ourselves from being crushed by them. And so we think, it's so weird, it's so unconscious, that she must not be, or he must not be deserving of love. She's worth just being rejected. I don't want to go in there and find out. If I found out, it's like a catch-22. It's like damned if I am, damned if I don't, or whatever you want to say. It's like it's not going to work either way, because if I find out she is worth loving, she was always worth loving, then I've ignored her all of these years until now, and I have been treating her according to a lie. If I find out that, then I find out also my parents were really wrong about her, and there's still some subconscious part of me that doesn't want to see my parents in a bad light. Even though I can name it consciously, there's some unconscious deep part that doesn't want to see that about them, that feels like there's still going to be these 18 feet giants that are going to crush you if you come to that truth. And so I found her again, and I picked her up and I put her, like I said, right here, and I loved her. And I was like, you are always worth protecting. You are always worth loving. And your worth doesn't come from other people. They don't know. How could they know her worth when I wasn't willing to see her worth, when I wasn't willing to remember? Everything we learn is a remembrance. It's what Plato says way back when. So it's about finding her and being willing to be committed to loving her and not giving away the power. Reclaim your power. Don't give your power away to anybody else to define your worth. But people can say that all the time. I heard that a million times before yesterday. But it wasn't until my heart was broken wide open again and I felt super betrayed, and that I went in and because it is like when Christ says you must face your cross daily and follow me. It's like in order to be aligned with fullness of love, you have to face a kind of death. And I wasn't willing to do that on my own, I guess, kept asking for it. And so some old unconscious pattern got replayed in my life. And I could take that and just, be buried in the ground with it and take it personally, or else just go, well, let's go find out. Let's go find her and see, is she worth rejecting and betraying and selling out for something less than the fullness of love that she's worth. And I kept doing that to her. That was another heartbreaking thing, was, oh, there's the butterfly. It's over. There's 2 of them, look. Aww. I hope that got on the video. Sweet. I kept betraying her. I kept betraying her that same way. I wasn't protecting her because I'm hearing in the arms of an angel, may you find some comfort here. Sarah McLachlan. But actually, I heard that she was writing that about someone that was going on a heroin trip or something, a drug trip. So it is like that. It is like if I was going to a drug and trying to find that high that I wanted so badly, of that closeness of love from my parents in a drug, I would be doing the same thing that my parents did to me. I would be taking a shortcut to try to get that high that I remembered from heaven, let's say that high form of love, but selling out and just taking it a cheap way because I don't know that I really deserve to have it the highest way possible. I don't know that in me. I deserve a high love, not a high love, really, really high quality love. I deserve the best love. And when I go find her in that pit and go, and have Christ with me, and he says, where are the people that were going to stone you? Well, they're gone because you let them go. They don't get to define your worth anymore. And neither will I stone you. And we pick her up and I embrace her and I incorporate her in me and I integrate her. And I say it doesn't matter if our parents reject us anymore, if they hate us, our internalized parents or whatever, because I'm going to love you. I choose love. I choose to love you. I'm committed to loving you. And then I asked, and I got to wrap this up, I asked the divine, I asked God, I asked divine love or Christ, however you say it, whatever form it is for you, like this mystery of this beauty, And I asked, how can I know her and be present with her? Because I haven't known how to do that. I was scared to do that because they taught me, be scared to know her. She's not worth loving, and she is, she's precious. She's just this beautiful little girl that's just been neglected in so many ways, And I got in my inner knowing, they said, like God, whatever divine love said, just be in the centered place that I did with you guys. Be in your heart. Be in this love space with her and hold her in the stillness. Don't go up into your thoughts. Don't go be distracted by all these other shortcuts and quick highs that will make you feel better in the moment. Give her 5 minutes. If it's 5 minutes, just start with that and be present with her and be quiet. And I'm going to put in the description, I will put in the Muji video that came to me today, because that's what had me crying for the second hour, was this woman, he answered a question that this woman had written down. And I didn't relate with her question, but it went right to this raw area in me. And I was just sobbing because he was talking about how to be quiet with this inner part of yourself, how to offer him love, how it's so beautiful, you guys, because it will free you from trying to get this everywhere else, in everything else, in anything else. Elliot's song came to me today when that was going to, everything means nothing to me, everything means nothing to me. And it's not that you're denying that everything's nothing. It's just, I don't need any of that other stuff when I connect with this deep love in my heart. And she finally feels welcomed and loved and cherished. And she's not waiting for anybody else to get it. It's this fullness of love. Oh, I just saw the sun rays for a second. Like I say in my other videos, just turn your face to the sun. It's what we're learning how to do. We'll learn how to get more presence. We are learning right now how to get more presence with that part of ourselves and welcome him or her. She was always worth knowing. He was always worth knowing and loving. And no one else knows no one else has the power to define your worth. And you don't get it from trying to pretend with all these masks, trying to impress all these likes, or whatever we get, on social media, whatever. You're worth knowing deep within. I love you so much. I wish you love. Thanks for being with me on this. Subscribe. You don't have to subscribe. That's funny. If you made it through an hour-long video, then, some part of your soul is wanting this freedom. So all I'm going to try to do in short videos, in songs, in long videos, whatever it takes, I'm going there and I'm committed to it. And I'm going there in my own life, and you see it. I love you.